Some things Japan has come up with are so clever that they fix problems you didn't even realize you had until you see the solution. A walking cane that unfolds into a portable seat so you never have to stand and wait when there's nowhere to sit. Chocolate engineered into the exact shape and size of a cheese slice so it lays flat on bread without needing to be spread. And a bag clip with a built-in spout so once you seal an open bag, you can pour directly from it without ever opening it the same way again. Japan doesn't just fix problems, it fixes ones you didn't even know you had until you see the solution and suddenly can't imagine going back. Today, we're counting down 15 Japanese ideas that fix problems you didn't even notice. Watch until the end because number 15, pavements that generate electricity from the pressure of people walking over them, shows how Japan found a power source in something the rest of the world has been standing on for years. Number 1. Convertible cane chair. The Tada cane is a Japanese walking aid that unfolds into a portable seat at the press of a button, converting from a standard walking stick into a stable stool that supports the user's weight while they wait, rest, or watch something without needing to find a bench or ask for a chair. You walk with it normally. When you need to sit, you press the release, the legs unfold outward from the base, and a seat deploys from the handle. You sit. When you're ready to move, you fold it back and continue. For elderly users, people with mobility limitations, or anyone who spends time in environments where seating is unpredictable, the Tada removes the specific anxiety of not knowing whether there will be somewhere to sit when you need it. Japan looked at a walking aid and asked why it only solved one of the two problems its users face daily. The cane was already in their hand. Japan just added a seat to it. Number 2. Sliced chocolate in cheese slice format. Japan produces chocolate in flat square slices formatted identically to processed cheese slices, packaged in the same individual wrapper style and sized to lay directly onto a piece of bread without cutting, breaking, or spreading anything. You peel the wrapper, place the chocolate slice on the bread, and the coverage is immediate, even, and complete. No knife, no board, no chocolate that's too cold to spread and tears the bread, or too warm and makes a mess. The chocolate is already the right shape for the bread because it was designed to be. It's a format that solves a problem most people don't consciously identify as a problem because the alternative has always been the only option. Spreading chocolate on bread is fine. Laying a pre-cut slice of it directly on bread is faster, cleaner, and produces a more consistent result every time. Japan asked why chocolate for bread had to be spread at all and produced a version that doesn't. Number 3. Bag clip with spout. Japan produces bag clips with a built-in pouring spout that seals an open bag closed and simultaneously converts the sealed opening into a controlled pour channel. So the bag that was open for scooping becomes a container you can pour from without reopening it differently. You clip it onto the open end of a bag of rice, cereal, coffee, or any dry goods, and the clip seals the bag while the spout provides a directed opening for pouring. Tilt the bag and the contents flow through the spout in a controlled stream, rather than cascading out of a folded edge with variable accuracy. Most open bags are resealed by folding the top down and securing it, which works for storage but requires unfolding every time you need to pour. The clip with spout removes that cycle entirely. Japan combined two separate functions into a single clip and produced something that handles both storage and dispensing from one attachment that lives permanently on the bag. If you're enjoying this so far, go ahead and tap like. It tells YouTube you want more of Japan's clever, everyday innovations. And if you love discovering things you didn't even know existed, hit subscribe so you don't miss the rest of this list. Trust me, the next ones are even cooler. Number 4. Mount Fuji Pencil Sharpener. The Mount Fuji Pencil Sharpener by Shachihata is a sharpener cap shaped and detailed to look exactly like Mount Fuji that screws directly onto the top of any standard empty plastic bottle. So every shaving from every pencil falls neatly into the bottle rather than scattering across the desk. You screw the cap onto a bottle, sharpen your pencil through the mountain-shaped top, and the shavings drop down into the bottle below. The desk stays completely clean. When the bottle fills up, you unscrew the cap, empty it, and start again. It solves two problems simultaneously. The mess that comes with every pencil sharpener is completely contained, and the sharpener itself is shaped like Japan's most iconic landmark, making it one of the few functional stationery items that genuinely earns its place on a desk as a display object, rather than simply a tool that gets buried in a drawer. Japan made a pencil sharpener that produces no mess, looks like Mount Fuji, and uses a bottle you were going to throw away anyway as its waste container. Number 5. Beer Tornado Dispenser. Japan's Beer Tornado Dispenser fills a glass from the bottom up, using a magnetic valve system, sending beer upward through the base of the glass in a spiraling motion that produces a perfectly settled pour with a consistent head every time, without any pouring technique required from the person operating it. The glass has a magnetic disc in the base that seals the fill opening. You place it on the dispenser platform, the beer rises from below in a swirling column, and when the glass is full, the valve seals as the glass is lifted. No tilt, no angle, no managing the pour to prevent excess foam. The result is visually striking and practically superior to a standard top-down pour. The carbonation is preserved through the fill, the head forms naturally, and the glass arrives at the table looking exactly as a properly poured beer should. Japan automated the perfect beer pour and made the process itself worth watching. Number 6. Fruit juice packaging laws. Japan legally requires fruit juice products to display the percentage of actual fruit juice content on the packaging in a standardized format. So every carton and bottle on the shelf communicates clearly whether you are buying pure juice, a juice drink with a small fruit content, or a flavored beverage with almost no fruit in it at all. The labeling is mandatory and standardized rather than voluntary and variable. A product with 5% fruit juice cannot present itself with the same visual language as one with 100%. The percentage is on the front in a consistent location in a readable size. The practical outcome is that buying juice in Japan is an informed decision rather than a label reading exercise that most people don't bother with. You see the number and you know what you're getting. Japan treated accurate food labeling as a consumer right rather than a marketing variable and made the fruit content of a juice product something the packaging is legally required to tell you clearly. Number 7. Self-closing jam lid. Japan produces jam jars with self-sealing lids that close automatically when you press them down, creating an airtight seal without any twisting, without checking whether the seal engaged, and without the uncertainty of whether a quickly replaced lid is actually protecting the contents. You use the jam, press the lid down, and it seals. The mechanism is a simple pressure seal built into the lid design that engages at the correct pressure and holds until you release it intentionally for the next use. Standard jam jar lids require a twist to seal and provide no feedback about whether the twist was sufficient. The self-sealing lid removes the variable entirely. Press equals sealed. Every time. Without thought. Japan identified the specific friction point in a daily kitchen interaction, the moment of replacing a lid under time pressure with sticky hands while making breakfast, and produced a lid that removes every decision from that moment except putting it back on the jar. Number 8. Wood joinery without nails or screws. Japan builds certain traditional structures entirely without nails, screws, or metal fasteners of any kind, using interlocking wooden joints that hold under load through geometric precision alone. And the reason comes down to earthquakes. Metal fasteners are rigid. When seismic force moves a structure, nails and screws resist the movement until the point they fail. Wooden joints work differently. The interlocking cuts allow the structure to flex slightly in response to movement, absorbing and redirecting the energy rather than fighting it, and returning to position when the shaking stops. Japanese temple and shrine construction has applied this principle for centuries, producing wooden buildings that have survived major earthquakes that destroyed everything around them. The joinery techniques require a level of cutting precision that takes years to develop, with joints that fit together so exactly they hold thousands of kilograms without any fastener holding them in place. Japan built earthquake resilience into the structure of the wood itself, centuries before engineering had a name for what it was doing. Number 9. Mini desk vacuums. Japan produces miniature desktop vacuum cleaners designed specifically for clearing eraser shavings, paper dust, crumbs, and small debris from a desk surface, operating from a USB connection or small batteries, and sized to sit permanently on the desk without occupying meaningful space. You run it across the surface, the debris is collected into a small removable chamber, and the desk is clear. The whole process takes about 15 seconds, and the vacuum returns to its position on the desk until the next time it's needed. The alternative is brushing debris onto the floor, using your hand to sweep it to the edge and then not knowing what to do with it, or blowing it in a direction that redistributes rather than removes it. Japan made a cleaning tool specifically sized and powered for the desk surface, and produced something that handles the specific debris pattern of desk work more effectively than any general-purpose solution. It lives where the mess is and deals with it immediately. Number 10. Chopstick rests. Chopstick rests are small ceramic, wooden, or metal supports placed at the side of a place setting that hold chopsticks elevated off the table surface between bites, keeping the eating end clean and preventing them from rolling or being placed directly on the table where they would pick up whatever is there. You put the chopsticks down between bites, the rest holds them at the correct angle, and you pick them up again without them having touched the table at any point during the meal. The problem they solve is one most people outside Japan manage by balancing chopsticks across a bowl, which works inconsistently, or placing them on the table, which defeats the purpose of having a clean eating surface. Japan produced a dedicated object for a specific placement problem, made it in materials ranging from disposable folded paper to hand-painted ceramic, and turned a functional necessity into one of the most consistently designed small objects in Japanese table culture. Number 11. Makeup glasses. Japan's cheek color lens. Glasses by eyewear brand Jien's feature a subtle gradient tint in pink and peach tones along the lower portion of the lens that reflects light upward onto the cheek area, mimicking the appearance of blush without any makeup being applied. You put the glasses on and the tinted lower lens creates the visual impression of a soft flush across the cheeks. No product, no brush, no application time. The effect is produced entirely by the way the tinted lens interacts with light, reflecting onto your face. They launched in Japan in 2021 and went viral in 2024, when influencers began posting about the effect, driving roughly 400% year-over-year growth and prompting the brand to bring the product to the United States. Japan produced a pair of glasses that function simultaneously as corrective eyewear and as a cosmetic product, replacing one step of a makeup routine with a lens tint that achieves the same result passively. You wear the glasses because you need them. The blush effect is simply what happens when you do. Number 12. Toilet slippers. Japan keeps a dedicated pair of slippers inside every toilet room that are worn only in that specific space and exchanged for regular indoor slippers at the toilet door, maintaining a complete separation between the floor surface of the toilet and every other floor surface in the building. You swap into the toilet slippers at the door, use the facilities, and swap back to your regular slippers when you leave. The toilet floor stays contained within the toilet. Nothing from that surface travels elsewhere. The system works because the swap is automatic rather than optional. The toilet slippers are there, you put them on. The hygiene boundary is maintained without any conscious decision about whether to observe it. Japan extended its indoor-outdoor shoe separation principle to its logical conclusion by recognizing that within the indoor environment itself, the toilet floor is a category that warrants its own dedicated footwear. The logic is straightforward. The floor of a toilet and the floor of a kitchen are not the same surface. Japan made sure they stay that way. Number 13. Film tape highlighters. Japanese film tape highlighters apply a strip of transparent colored film over text rather than liquid ink, producing a highlighted line that doesn't bleed through the page, doesn't smear wet ink, can be applied directly over freshly printed text, and in some versions can be peeled off and repositioned without damaging the paper. You run it over the text the same way you'd use a standard highlighter. The film lays down over the words, the color is visible through the transparent material, and the text underneath remains completely legible without any ink transfer to the page. Standard liquid highlighters bleed through thin paper, smear if applied too soon after printing, and cannot be undone once applied. The film version does none of those things. Japan produced a highlighting tool that addresses every failure mode of the standard version without requiring any change in how the user holds or applies it. Same motion, same result. None of the problems. Number 14. Storm Prevention Centers. Japan operates regional storm prevention and disaster response centers that monitor weather systems, river levels, and seismic activity in real time, and coordinate emergency response before and during typhoons, flooding events, and earthquake aftershocks through a centralized infrastructure that treats disaster prevention as a continuous operation rather than an emergency reaction. The centers maintain live feeds from sensor networks across river systems, coastlines, and mountain areas, issuing granular evacuation guidance at the neighborhood level based on current conditions rather than broad regional warnings that require residents to make their own risk assessments. The system is a product of Japan's geographic reality. Typhoons are annual, earthquakes are frequent. Flooding is predictable in certain river basins every rainy season. Japan built permanent infrastructure around the certainty of these events rather than treating each one as unexpected. The result is a disaster response system that activates before the emergency reaches its peak and reaches individuals with specific actionable guidance rather than general alerts that leave the interpretation to the person receiving them. Number 15. Piezoelectric pavements that generate electricity. Japan has installed piezoelectric flooring systems beneath high-traffic pedestrian areas that convert the mechanical pressure of footsteps into electrical energy, generating usable power from a surface that was already being walked on without any additional infrastructure required from the people using it. The tiles contain piezoelectric crystals that produce an electrical charge when compressed. Each individual footstep generates a small amount of energy. In areas like busy train stations and pedestrian crossings where thousands of people pass over the surface every hour, the cumulative generation is sufficient to power lighting, displays, and station equipment. It's infrastructure that generates power as a byproduct of something that was already happening. The people walk. The floor converts the energy. Nothing about the pedestrian experience changes, and the building draws less from the grid. Japan found a power source in the footsteps of its population and built flooring that collects it. The energy was always there. Japan just decided to use it. If you want to see more amazing things Japan is doing better than the rest of the world, then like and subscribe. And make sure to watch the video on your end screen. It's packed with even more problem-fixing things.